I think let's just get started. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from today. I am Swati from Anaplan, and it's a pleasure to welcome you all. Today, we are diving into a topic that's top of mind for almost every organization, which is how to respond faster and smarter in an increasingly volatile and constant driven environment. From raw material disruptions to demand volatility and margin pressures, businesses today need planning that is not just connected but responsive and scenario driven. Something that connects their planning across functions. But the real question remains, which is how do you respond faster and still make the right decisions? And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in today's session. We'll take you inside Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemical Corporation's journey and how they have transformed their planning processes to respond faster and drive better outcomes. Before we get started, just a couple of quick notes, before we begin, which is you can submit your questions anytime via the Q&A panel, and we'll take them up towards the end. We also have an interesting poll coming up. Do keep an eye for that. And this session is being recorded, and we will share the recording with you shortly. Uh, Looking at the slide, this that was our standard disclaimer slide. And now, moving on, it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers for today. We are joined today by Mrinamya Mishra, Senior General Managers, Sales and Operations Planning at Deepak Fertilizers. Mrinamya has been closely involved in driving the organization's integrated planning and SNOP transformation journey. Also joining us is Pranoy Ghosh, Principal Customer Success Business Partner at Anaplan, and our moderator for today's session. Pranoy works extensively with enterprise customers to help them unlock value through connected planning. With that, let's get started and over to you, Pranoy.
Thank you, Swati. Welcome, everyone. And Swati correctly said, right, in today's scenario, with everything going around in the world, right, there is high number of disruptions that we have, right? And having a supply chain management solution which can reduce your response time is super critical for everyone, right? Every major industry which has a robust supply chain network, which includes making sure your demand forecasting is accurate, you're able to optimize your production plans, you're able to minimize your inventory cost and minimize your distribution cost. We will talk about those use cases in quite depth throughout the conversation. But for now, I'd like to bring in Mrinamya into the discussion. Mrinamya, can you just sort of highlight what DFPCL does, what are your solutions, and how robust and complex is your supply chain network? Yeah.
So, first of all, thanks, Anaplan, and thank you, Swati and Pranay. I also greet the participants who have joined in the webinar call today. Just to give you a glance about what the Deepak Fertilizers and Petrochemicals Corporation Limited does. Basically, we are a company which is actually segregated into three different business segments. Our one of the major segment is Deepak Mining Solutions Private Limited, which is DMSL. DMSL basically manufactures ammonium nitrate related products, which are used in mining solutions. And this caters especially the needs of infrastructure development, explosive backend manufacturing. And it is a key raw material for blasting activities that is done on the infra projects or the Coal India as a company in Government of India, you can say supply chain framework. Another very important vertical that we have is industrial chemicals. There we actually make nitric acid related products and derivatives. We also manufacture isopropyl alcohol, methanol alcohol, and liquid carbon dioxide. These are some of the major products that we make. This directly finds application in pharma sector, and it has a wide range application in nitroaromatic derivatives. We have one more vertical, which is primarily concentric to manufacturing of fertilizer, which is crop nutrition business. And this crop nutrition business is under the umbrella of Mahadhan Agritech Limited, wherein we are governed by the, you can say, controlled regime of Government of India in manufacturing, production, distribution, and sales to the different, you can say, dealer network in our, you can say, across India panorama. We are a company having 6 manufacturing, you can say, sites, primarily concentric in Maharashtra and Gujarat. We have a total market capitalization approximately $1.8 billion, with the total revenue currently clocking at $1.3 billion. We have a very robust EBITDA margin, and we hope to grow at a very fast pace in the coming time.
Thank you, Mrinamya, right? And we also see DFPCL is mimicking India's manufacturing growth as well, right? With your multiple integrated manufacturing plants and a rail and road distribution network, I'm sure the supply chain is really complex, right? And that is where solving that required a lot of capabilities from a solution perspective, which we'll deep dive upon. But before that, can you highlight what were the business problems before we started the SaaS planning or SCM journey with Anaplan?
So, thanks, Pranay. Every supply chain has an evolution in itself. We have a story of our own supply chain journey evolving. We have seen many applications. We have had our own core solutions made previous to adopting SAS based solution. So what the previous journey that we have experienced, that any solution that we had made, it was like, in-house created capability which was little delayed in the you can say our response to changing macro factors. That was one of the major challenges, that if something changes in market or any input that is now we understand is no more available, how we will adopt to new scenario. And that was pretty much cumbersome to actually take that into account and create a new, you can say, set of plan. So that was one of the major challenges. Now, in current world environment where any company is not having the infinite, you can say, resources available to them, the resources are always limited, and within that resource only one has to actually find out the optimum balance, how we can maximize our contribution in the given framework, how much we can do the best. And therefore there was a very limited scope of optimization. We have had also challenges of, you can say, high distribution and dispatch cost, because we have one vertical segment which is directly B2C in nature. And in B2C nature we have to be, very frugal in serving our customer. The cost to serve, the total cost to serve, has to be maintained within the tolerable limits. That was one of the major challenges we were facing. And certainly demand forecast accuracy has been a perennial issue. So these were one of the few of the major challenges that our company were facing before adopting Anaplan SAS based solution.
Thank you. And I see demand side here with there was a need for higher demand volume baseline accuracy, right? You cannot take accurate decisions if your forecast is always varying from the actual, for example, right? And
Yeah.
also from maximizing the limited resources that you have in terms of raw materials, making sure your line balancing is accurate. I also feel that especially in the manufacturing industry, these are very typical challenges, right? So,
Yeah.
at this point in time, we also want to understand from the audience, are they able to relate to these challenges, right, in their companies when they're working in supply chain? So, Swati will trigger to the audience, Swati will trigger a poll with 3 questions. It should take 30 seconds to respond, but we want to understand your responses, right? And then we will tailor our discussion and customize our discussion based on some of the responses that we received. So if you can just respond to 3 questions that we have on the screen, that would be helpful.
We're seeing people responding, so let's just wait for 10 more seconds.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be ending the poll and we will quickly flash in the responses.
Great. So we see lack of cross-functional visibility getting 59% in the first question. And yeah, demand and sales forecasting is highlighted as a major challenge. And monthly is the scenario planning runs the companies are having. I think we touch upon all of these topics because collaboration, making sure that we have different departments across finance, supply side with factories, and your demand planners and your dispatch planners, all of those come together in the DFPCL solution in Anaplan. So we talk a lot about that and we'll try to customize based on your responses some of our talk track in the later chat, right? Thank you for that. I'll just move on to the next slide. One question, Mrinamya, we are like frequently asked, right, by partners and also clients that with this kind of complexity and there is so much of data dependence also on the operation system, right? You would want to have the right master data in the system, transaction data. So the extensibility of the system is very critical, right? And then once you have these complex set of use cases built, scalability becomes a challenge, right? Can
Yeah.
you highlight your experience with Anaplan? So when we started our journey in 2020, right, how easy or difficult it was to go live with the first set of use cases, and then how you have been able to scale the solution?
Yeah, sure, Pranay. Thanks for asking. Basically, this is an evolution, a journey that we all come across whenever we adopt a new solution. So our journey with Anaplan started in FY21 when we had created our first solution on Anaplan platform. So our main focus was that design solutions which are module oriented. By that I mean that we would create a dispatch module, then we would create a module which is mostly PS centric. By PS I mean production scheduling. And then we will also have a module which is demand sensing in nature, which is actually aggregates demand, and then you can say we try to weave them together and create a plan. Our initial journey was as such that we were mostly focusing of creating a monthly plan, which is segmented in 4 weeks. That means week 1, week 2, week 3, and week 4. By and large, we are done with our planning and we roll the plan into system. We wait for 1 week and then see that where are we with respect to the plan that we had created in the beginning of the month. We try to see and assess our deviations in week 1, and then we will like to again refresh our planning to recreate the plan for 3 weeks, that is starting from week 2 till week 4, or rather the end of the month. And this process has continued till the end of the month. During the complete process there was a seamless integration with finance module, because Anaplan is our company is currently hosting two solutions, one from supply chain and one from a P&A module. So there is always a handshake process. This has continued till 21-22, and we have then very immediately felt that there is a capability which is required to make it more responsive and controlled on a daily precision basis. And thereby we have taken a new project which we call daily refresh capability, wherein we have codified new frameworks, we have added new structural governance system, wherein all PS capability, the capability and other features are quite integrated. And we are right now quite happy with, you can say, the solution it has delivered. And by far, we are kind of very good to go with the solutions.
Thank you so much. This also brings me back to the feedback that we received for the first question, right? That a lot of the customers are facing challenges in collaborating different teams together in one platform, right? Every team talking to the same data, right? So that decision making can be enabled better. Looking at this core, what you are showing right now, that would have meant that you have finance, supply side, demand side, all working together on a real-time basis, right? Because
Yeah.
daily refresh would mean that your modeling engine is running real time, right?
Yes.
So I think this is a right indication to move to the solution slide, and if you can just explain about the overall solution that you have in Anaplan.
Yeah, thanks. So the side slide in display is suo motu, a replica of our current governing mechanism. And let me explain how it actually works on a daily basis or maybe on a monthly basis. So our system is modular in nature. Our system is custom made. So just to depict it, say for example, currently we are sitting in month October, which we call in our language M1 month, M0 month, which is the running month. And we are currently going to create a plan for 90 days ahead, which will start from the next month first. So our immediate coming month, the immediate month is M1 month, which would be November, and follow up 2 months will be December and January. Now, while we want to create this plan, it will certainly start with the demand aggregation process. Now, demand aggregation is actually shown in the stack here, which start with aggregating demand from AOs, that is area offices. And while we have already explained you that we have a B2C network company where the complete supply chain is scattered across India. Therefore, it is very important that bottoms up demand is aggregated. So we we aggregate the demand on the last precision unit, and that is my area office. We aggregate that demand and we bring it to the zonal level, and there is an interface layer sitting between demand aggregation module and Anaplan. Our current demand aggregation is happening on ZStorm, which is actually interfaces this demand, brings to Anaplan, and then we have our zonal head and national sales heads who actually visualize the demand. They have the ability to curate the demand. That means any kind of overlay, if it is required to be done on the demand based on their experiences and, or you can say, outlook, and they can do so. Thereby, we create a consensus demand, which is eventually fed into the system, which we call it that now demand has been aggregated. It has been aggregated to the last precision unit, and it is now available into the system. Now, demand aggregation, once that happens, we have casted another module that we call it NPR module, that is net production requirement module. Now, how does this work? This precisely works on the principle that while demand has been aggregated, our inventories are scattered across India, which is geographic centric. That means we knock the off inventory, especially from the demand centers from where the demand has been aggregated, and we have a concept of safety stock management principle. That means we always believe in churning. We have aggregated the demand, will serve the demand, and we will replenish the demand. That means replenishment of the safety stock to the respective, you can say, zonal centers where we have our concentric demand coming up. Once that goes, we have to get this fed into Anaplan, which is my optimizer engine. But this is only one part of the story. We need other inputs as well. And thereby, we have a sourcing module which actually feeds raw material vessel planning schedule. What are our vessels which are expected to come? And concurrently, we have another module which is called RCCP module. Uh, it it is rough cut capacity planning. That means all the downstream or the upstream capacities, which is especially plant centric in nature. We have the complete schedule of shutdown properly fed into the system. And this also becomes one of the inputs to my optimizer. Having all the inputs, you can say, fed into the system, we normally have codified our complete governance mechanism in terms of writing codes, which is like setting constraints, and we have the core optimizer function also. So it optimizes my deliverables. That means how best we can fulfill our NPR. And at the same time, it maximizes contribution also. we have some other overlay of, you can say, constraints and logics, which gives me 3 months constrained production plan. Now that we know that 3 months constrained production plan is known, I would then create 1 month optimized dispatched plan, which would actually work on min cost function. And I'm also aware now that I have 2 months, M2 and M3, the probable product mix known, because we have aggregated demand for M2 and M3 as well. And with the current visualization of the inputs which is being fed into the system, I would be precisely aware what would be my possible product mix for the follow-up 2 months. And this engine continuously works. At any given point of time, if any variable changes, I'm able to recalibrate the complete system and create the new plan for our governance mechanism. In the complete set of mechanism, whenever it is running, there is a handshake, which is working with finance module. So finance module feeds the information which are mostly contribution in nature. By contribution, and mean you can say NSP minus variable cost, and that keeps on feeding on a real-time basis, and thereby we feed the combination of product mix. Finance module feeds the combination of, you can say, contribution, and this engine keeps on running at any point of time whenever we need.
This is super helpful, I think, and very comprehensive explanation. I hope the audience will be able to get how everything is calibrated and collaboratively work in Anaplan. I would want to focus a bit more on the Anaplan optimizer piece, right? Because when you look into any supply chain management problem, making sure that your logistical distribution cost is minimized, right? You're able to optimize the way you send the products, the way you leverage raw materials and production lines is super critical, right? For any supply chain management problem. What what is this capability? How does it work, right? And what benefits it has really provided? Probably we'll go to the next slide. Yeah, if you can just highlight a bit on the Anaplan optimizer.
Yeah, sure. So optimizer is the core of the complete governance mechanism, right? So as I have explained in the previous slide, that we don't run only single optimizer, because it is staged, because we run a certain optimizer at a PS state, we call it here, where the optimization objective function is to maximize contribution, and then also look into the common pool concept. Now, common pool concept, a very novel concept which is indigenously designed by us, and that we have created based on the current governance mechanism in the company itself. So what normally our company does is that, or rather the complete governance mechanism, we have coded that into solutions. Once the PS optimizer is fully run and it has given us the solution of production schedule for coming 90 days, we then go to the next step, and we try to optimize the complete distribution network that we have. We have a network which has a certain point of supply, certain demand of supplies, right? So demand and supply points are known. The framework of cost structure is completely known. But what we have to then figure that out, that given that the current framework, which is currently going to supply my network, we have to be precise about my role to uh, road and rail network, and how we can optimize the complete warehouse capability that we have, where we can churn the product the highest. This all engine is working in tandem with each other, and it creates a solution that is fully, you can say, serviceable. By and large, we have seen that every time we have run our optimizer, our cost structures which the optimizer gives is normally within the expected, you can say, budget numbers, and thereby believe that whenever we get a number which is pretty much well within our, you can say, permissible control criterias, we are good to go and adopt the solution.
Thank you. This helps. One thing I wanted to understand is with clients who are manufacturing mining chemicals, industrial chemicals, right, fertilizers, there is a lot of dependency on LNG and LPG as a commodity and raw materials that you would need, right? So, for example, ammonia is a critical raw material for you, which goes into the production of mining chemicals, which are used by mining industries, for example. And with the current conflict going on in the Middle East, right, I'm sure DFPCL from the supply side would be constrained, right? So in this instance, how has Anaplan provided you the capability to respond better to the situation?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, as we all know, the current time that we are passing through, we have seen the Middle East crisis emerging all of a sudden. With and the moment this scenario has emerged, the government of India has then took a stock of the situation, and it has primarily Suomoto Tech has taken the cognizance of the complete demand of, you can say, liquefied natural gases of the industries, and also they have assessed how much is the domestic need, and then by the interference of Department of Chemicals, Government of India, a circular which got issued wherein the industry has got third priority in the complete allocation hierarchy. While we know that we have an unplanned system and we have also fed our complete in-feed solutions into unplanned framework, we have some, you can say, committed quantity from our suppliers, and we know that those committed quantities will be delivered to us. But whensoever these macro factors hit, those inputs are kind of uh, constrained to a very limited quantity, which is not sufficient to operate the complete, you can say, downstream system. And thereby it becomes very important for us that we rejig our inputs. We see that with the given, you can say, constrained input from our feed suppliers, how quickly we can churn the solution in, and we can figure that out, that okay, now we know that only a limited quantity of contractual gas would be available. Then what next best solution the company has? So obviously we will go back to a spot solutions available in the market, and therefore it is pretty much important for us to respond very quickly to, you can say, the available spot quantities in the market, and we have to either accept or reject the proposal. And the response time allowed by the gas selling companies is too short a window, and within that time frame only we have to assess that if this quantity is being procured for the company, will that be sure sort of hedging my downstream or not? Will my downstream will be fully secured in case that quantity is purchased? At the same time, we need to assess that in case we secure this quantity, are we making some kind of, pass through in the increase in the cost, and we are able to secure the company margin, we are able to secure the product inflow, we are able to secure, you can say, our downstream commitment to our customers as well. So thereby, this comes pretty much handy. Unapplied solutions have actually been very handy for us to quickly churn the number, run multiple scenarios, maybe one, two, three, four scenarios we can quickly run. We can see that our downstream will be properly, you can say, secured if this certain quantity of gas is actually taken on a spot. We, at many times, based on the pricing conditions, also rejected the proposals. So, like accepting and rejecting proposal in a very short span of time is of paramount importance as a decision support and enabler.
So thank you so much. And just to summarize for the audience, essentially what you are saying is that when we understand that the situation from the supply side is challenging, right? And a plan is giving the capability to assess the impact it will have on your fulfillment rate, right? And the commitment that you've made to the customers. And then within the system, because you have all the ecosystem to take decisions, including finance, you are able to create scenarios, and those scenarios might mean that, hey, to increase the demand fulfillment, do I need to make a product mix change? Do I need to look for alternate spot sourcing scenarios, right? Like you said, from other gas suppliers. and then be able to assess what would be the impact, how much mitigation I have to do, how much uh, commitment I have to sort of revoke from the customer, right? It also helps in, I would say, improving your relationship, because if you have a very large commitment and obviously customer is dependent on your orders, right? They are also stuck, right? Essentially. So it also helps in early mitigation through early customer communication, right? Uh, like you said, that's great. We have been talking about early response time, right? Can you highlight how much was the response time before we started the Anaplan journey, and how much it has reduced, right, after Anaplan?
Yeah, we have had a very significant improvement in our response time. Say, for example, we have the, you can say, inputs coming up, and it would take manually to churn the complete, you can say, contractual clauses, look into the, you can say, new framework, new costing, and how our, you can say, downstream is secured or not secured. So before Anaplan, it was approximately 24 hours, I would say 1 day. And then it is currently being reduced to just 1 hour. And that 1 hour is only to, you can say, plug in the right inputs, because churning the scenario is a click of button game only. So thereby it is pretty much very important that we are quite a bit, you can say, we have seen a significant improvement in our responses to the inputs coming up. We are able to, you can say, prioritize our product mixes. We are able to effectively manage the RM sourcing decision. So SNOP as a process, we do lot of trade-off decisions, and trade-off decision is the core of our current business process decision making. So we always see, okay, we go with scenario A or we go with scenario B. And therefore, these trade-off decisions are having all those strategic operational elements, which helps us achieve the objective of the organization. Because with the current changing macro factors, it is very much important that we have a very strong governance on, you can say, committed contribution margin, that the company has an objective to retain, which will eventually help us give a very robust EBITDA to the company. At the same time, there is always a limited mechanism that a certain pass through can happen. Pass through of cost, I mean here. And therefore, it is pretty much important that after a certain increase in the input, we are left with no choice but to optimize the cost. And therefore, it is pretty much important that we optimize the cost at all the junctions possible, either at PSS stage or in the distribution stage. So precisely, these are some of the gains that our company has seen with adoption of these solutions, which are custom made, in-house created with the partners who have actually helped us design the solution. We have codified a lot of governance mechanism into Anaplan platform, which is just ours, cannot be emulated.
Thank you. And in our experience, this is the benchmark that we have seen, right, to respond time, that once there is a disruption, companies would typically take 48 to 72 hours, because everything is lying offline, right? They have to collate everything into one system, run scenarios again in a separate system, and then report out, right? With 1 hour, definitely seems a lot of considerable improvement, which obviously leads to multiple factors that you've highlighted. It would be great if we can just take audience through some of the supply chain control tower dashboards or critical dashboards, the BI capabilities that you have in our plan. Namya.
Yeah, sure. So say, for example, we have just showcased some of, you can say, our BI dashboards for audience. The left one, the top left corner is a BI, which is actually talking about demand fulfillment summary. This is the outcome of our, you can say, dispatch module optimizer, that once the optimizer has fully run, it it has the objective function to fulfill the demand generated into the geographic centers. So it gives me that yes, these are the products for which the demand has been fulfilled, which is shown in the green cells, and those which are not 100% fulfilled. They are shown in the red cells. So these are precisely talking about that which product basket is being fully maximized in terms of their demand fulfillment. It also talks about that are we having any propensity of losing any projected demand? Are we not going to fulfill it for any logistic constraints or maybe production constraint? So, and if there is a constraint that we are not able to fulfill it, that also gets highlighted in the table below, which precisely indicates that which reason has been that we are not able to fulfill a particular network demand. So that is in the top left corner. The one in the right hand corner is actually talking about our planned cost, you can say, network, which actually talks about that the complete network is divided into lanes. So all the lane costs are aggregated and they are shown against their, you can say, total cost and total cost of product moved. That is cost per metric ton. So that is fully integrated. Some numbers have been, you can say, by design have been erased here because these are transactional data of the company. We cannot publicly let it, you can say, go out. But the framework is being shown here. The framework is typically depicting about the total planned cost, and similar to that, it will be controlled on a daily precision where the planned cost and the actual incurred cost will be compared. The complete network is governed under Government of India, you can say, uh, subsidy netback formulation, where we will precisely understand that having served this network, how much of cost will be reimbursed under the Government of India freight subsidy netback policy, and what will be the net cost incurred to the company. So these complete formulations is actually very easy, very handy in the Power BI, not Power BI, BI enabled backend solution, which is working on, you can say, Anaplan platform. And the lowermost one is basically a scenario driver, which talks about that given the product mix the optimizer has given as an output, in which particular product mix, you can say, formulation, the company is making maximum contributions, and those contributions are highlighted in the bar graph, which is shown in the column over here. So these are some of the capabilities we have created, which is handy. It is just a click of button away. We know that if a certain input had changed and we are optimizing, a set of output will be pretty much easy to see and formulate.
Yeah, thank you so much. We see in a lot of applications that they will have a lot of capabilities to calculate real time or create an optimization engine, but also having the BI capabilities. What you see right now looks like a BI application, right? With a lot of decision making capabilities with the right underlying data set within the application. Thank you so much. So Swati, this is what we had from the slide perspective. Happy to take any Q&A that we have.
Great. So thank you, Mrinamya and Pranay. That was a very insightful discussion. I'm sure everyone in this session found this valuable, especially in understanding how connected planning and scenario modeling can drive faster and more confident decisions. With that, now we will start with the Q&A part. And we are already seeing a lot of questions coming in. So let me take our first question. So, Mrinmaya, driving adoption across business and finance team is often the hardest part. How do you ensure teams actually shifted from traditional planning approaches to using a new system regularly?
Yeah, so what we have experienced, I mean, I can share from my experience. So the experience that we have had is that in any design of, you can say, designing, whenever we are designing any solution, we have experts who know the business processes, and we have experts who know the technical part of it. Now, technical person may lack the, you can say, business acumen, and the business person would not be able to translate all their governance mechanism into codes. And therefore, it is pretty much important that we need a program manager who can interface between the two, who can seamlessly talk the business framework in technical language, And then it is very easy for any coder to draft the governance mechanism on a seamless way. We have experienced during the chain model, and we were able to do it very seamlessly. Our own internal IT team has been very supportive in translating our framework into replicable knowledge. And thanks to Anaplan and their support partners who were always at our disposal to understand our business framework, translate that into a, you can say, a use case. And we have done extensive, you can say, user acceptance test before we deployed any solution and translated into production module. So we were taking care during our transition journey. And once the solution has come up, it was a really very happy solution, which was got adopted by the core stakeholders.
Perfect. Now I'll take another question. So, how was the overall implementation experience, and how quickly were you able to start realizing tangible value from the solution?
So, realizing tangible value, it took a little time. By and large, for us, we had to learn it first. I mean, all the stakeholders, they were actually educated with their input processes. And once it was known by everyone, it was just a click away. I mean, as we have explained during presentation, in the natural gas management case, we were delivering solution very handy, very fast. We have had experiences like the one call that we are currently having. Say I am present in the call and some scenario is being discussed. People are throwing their side of number, and by the time they have spoken about their side of constraints, I was ready with the scenario. It was that quick.
Wow. I'll take another one. So, how effectively are you able to create and evaluate different scenarios today? And how does that help in decision making and visibility for stakeholders?
So scenario making depends which input is changing. So say for example, if the input is changing from capacity side, then the scenario output will be totally different. If the input is changing from sales side, the scenario output will be different. So we actually weigh them. We weigh them in the current set of, we can say, mechanism. Many a times, since we have the scenario making capability, people ask a reverse question. They say that now I have a possibility that I can shut down plant A or plant B. You please suggest me which plant should I shut. So we do this kind of a reverse scenario also. Rather than they come and tell me that plant A is now shut, you take care of downstream. Rather, they come with the input that I have an option. I can choose between plant A and plant B. You tell me which one is more beneficial for you. And we'll tell them, okay, in the given constraint, you please shut plant A, keep running plant B, and and a vice versa. So these are all trade-off decisions we are able to quickly tell them, and it doesn't take much time. So it's like just the core stakeholders are present in the call, and within an hour we are coming with a solution.
And
Wow.
Swati, one thing also mention is scenario planning is most effective when you are working in a connected planning environment, right? The reason it is most efficient for DFPCL is because they have their supply chain drivers and they are able to see the impact on finance, on contribution margin, right? So if you are doing scenario planning in silos, it's not that effective, right? That's where the solution is so powerful, where you are able to make changes in your capacity and raw materials, and you're able to see what would be my EBITDA margin and on contribution margin, what is the impact to that, right? Yeah.
Makes sense. So we have hit 11:45. So what I can suggest is we can take up these questions, and my team will reach out to you with answers. We will be bouncing off all these questions with Pranoy and Mrinmaya, and we will reach out. Thank you. That was very helpful. And again, thanks a lot to all our attendees for joining us today and for engaging questions. Before you log off, a short survey will pop up on your screen, and we would really appreciate your feedback. It helps us shape future sessions and content. And as a reminder, the session recording will be shared with you shortly. So feel free to revisit it or share with your team. And thank you once again for your time. And we look forward to having you with us in our upcoming